My daughter 16F and I 40 meters found out that my wife 38F cheated on me 4 years ago. Am on mobile, English is not my first language, and an am on liquor, so forgive me for any grammatical errors. So my daughter's laptop broke down last week. I have her my wife's old iPod to use for a while before I can get her a new one. As she was going through the iPod to set up her accounts, she became curious and went through some of my wife's things. She found some of my wife's old messages on WhatsApp and Facebook. That's when she discovered about the cheating. My daughter called me, while I was at work crying, saying that she needed to tell me something. I came home as soon as I can. And that's when my whole world was turned upside down. It crumbled down in front of me. My daughter told me what she had found out. Basically, my wife cheated on me with a younger coworker for 4 months. It was a conversation between my wife and her best friend. She told her about this hot young coworker who was flirting with her. She was hesitant at first, then she brought down all her barriers and flirted back. They exchanged numbers, then started meeting at his place for time after work while I was working my ass off. They hooked up for about 6-8 weeks before my wife came back to her senses. She said that it was the best time she had had in years physically, but she regret doing it and she suddenly felt shame and guilt because it always left an emotional void, and couldn't believe she would ever cheat on me. She struggled breaking that affair, so she decided to quit her job and move to another job. I can remember her telling me that her new boss was the pain in the ass, that's why she was quitting her job. She was asking her friend for advice at this time. Her friend advised her to confess, but my wife refused, saying that if she tells me I'm going to leave her. And that she didn't want to lose me and her family, and that she wouldn't want to see me hurting. I remember her being stressed for about 2 weeks, then she surprised me with a week-long vacation just between me and her to spend some romantic quality time. She said that she felt like we were not emotionally connecting. And that the stress was caused by work. I know I'm a trusting guy, and this whole time I was blindsided by her. By this time I was crying, my daughter holding me as I cry on her shoulders. It was the first time I had shed tears because I was emotionally strong, but all this was traumatizing and the pain was just too much. The feeling of emasculation and embarrassment as my daughter watching her father shed tears like a baby. We decided we were not going to spend the night there. We packed up our exit and waited for my wife before we could confront When she came back, she knew something was off, and when we confronted her she tried to deny at first, then she came clean. She broke down into tears and begged us not to leave. She asked for forgiveness, saying that she would do anything to keep us around. She begged for me to consider reconciliation and that we can work through this. She said she didn't want to throw away 17 years of marriage. My daughter and I soon left and booked for a hotel where we've been staying since Friday. My phone and my daughter's phone has been blowing up with messages and calls from everyone. My daughter has only talked to her sister and my parents, who have been staying together. We haven't told anyone yet about anything. Honestly, I don't know what to do. I have been in our room crying all day long. I haven't even taken my shower, and I don't know if it wasn't for my daughter, I think I would be insane by now. Any advice is appreciated. I don't know how to move on. My wife doesn't know where we are. She tried following us, but my daughter yelled at her, asking her to respect our private space. She respected that. Redditor's reaction story 2 after. Redditor 1, the daughter is the real MVP here. She dug up the courage to tell her father what had happened, instead of sweeping it under the rug like we hear about so often. Now she is standing with her father and looking out for him, like he has always looked out for her. Redditor follow-up. Daughter shows that Op did give her some good morale and ethics. Op's a good father. Op. Be proud of her and work on yourself first. Also, you and your daughter should get some IC because the situation is somewhat depressing and traumatic. Redditor 2, I honestly don't know what advice to give you, except to share my experience. When I was 18, my dad found out my mom was cheating with a local state patrolman. I found out because it was the talk of our small town. I remember the morning he found out. It was awful. They divorced, and it was the worst period of my dad's life. But after a mourning period, the death of your marriage can feel like an actual death. He moved on, and my dad found the literal love of his life. They were together to the end. He was obviously much older than you, and his girlfriend died shortly after he passed at 84 last year. It gives me great comfort knowing that my dad was able to recover and then be so happy. Much luck to you. This is so difficult, so raw right now, but it won't hurt like this forever. It will get better. Redditor 3, your wife threw away all those years of marriage by cheating on you, then keeping it from you, which was doubly selfish. She had time with another man for months and then decided not to be honest with you and allow you to make your own choices and decisions because she selfishly wanted to duck her coworker and not have to lose her stable life. She is still being selfish by trying to guilt and manipulate you into staying with her and then trying to follow you instead of letting you have space and time to process. She has been lying to your face for 4 years, and how many times do you think she came home and kissed you after king is DCK over those 4 months? If you have any self-respect at all, and if you want your daughter to have any respect for you, you need to dump your wife's trashy, skanky ass to the curb. Your daughter is watching you. If her future partners did this to her, would you want her to have the self-respect to leave? Because whatever you do, she will think is what she should do in the same situation. Redditor 4, your wife had no intention of confessing to you. If the iPod messages were never found, you would have never learned what happened, exactly as she planned. Redditor follow-up, happens way more often than people like to think or admit. Yep, sad. 29% cheaters admit to cheating, but 70% don't come clean. Story 2, my 39M wife 39F is being recruited by now BDSM ex-BF. What in the ever-living fuck? My 39M wife 39F of 8 years has recently started talking to an ex-BF 40M. Their history goes back 15 plus years, but luckily we live across the country from him. He's married now for 4 years. We attended their wedding, lol, but they have no kids. My wife and I have 2 young boys, and up until now everything was seemingly fine. Isn't that always the case? I only found out of their recent contact since she left her email open on my computer before leaving for work. A quick search led to several threads that went from innocent to disgusting with a quickness. They reminisced about their previous escapades, and then things took a turn. He's into BDSM now and is trying to recruit her into meeting up and participating. From what I've seen, she thinks it's hot and is on board. I'd say my wife and I have an average time life, but never once was anything of the sort discussed with me. I'm not into that stuff, but that's not the point. He boldly claims that his wife and I don't need to know, and it'll be their little escape. Anyway, the chances of anything happening in his city are slim since we rarely visit, and if we do, we are always with family. But there was some discussion of the ex-BF trying to arrange a work training here so they could meet. I have no idea if this has actually happened yet. Their threads have been sporadic over the span of 3 months, and I can see that some replies from her were deleted from her inbox but were included in his replies. To me, this show all shows intent, but I'll be honest, I've seen enough. Again, I have no proof she's actually cheated, but I don't know if I even need to know. I never thought anything like this would happen. I've been completely faithful to her all this time, and for all intents and purposes. A good husband? I'm obviously distraught about this. Haven't eaten in 2 days. Feel empty inside. I actually cried when dropping my kids off for school today. So, Reddit, how do I approach this? Do I mail the ex-BF's new wife the implicit conversations and let things sort themselves out from that side? Do I simultaneously tell both? Do I just confront her and have her beg for forgiveness? Do I let things progress and try and catch her in the act? Do I just lawyer up now? And the timing. Her family is coming for the holidays, and I could totally ducking wreck Christmas or try and pretend everything is cool for my kids' sake while being a hollow shell of a dad for the next few weeks. I'm so lost. I feel betrayed. This is awful. Edit, typos and a word. Update Friday evening. Wow, this blew up. I'm trying to get through all the comments now. A lot of great commentary actually. Some things I had considered, some I hadn't. We'll try to respond where appropriate and then try and update this thread again soon. As for me right now, the shock has worn off. I'm no longer numb, but the wound is still open and I'm in stable condition. Update Thursday. What a week this has been. Got some great and not so great advice here and some sincere PMs from folks who had experienced similar situations, but in the end I followed my gut. Given the timing of everything with the holidays and no desire to derail things for my kids, I had plenty of time to formulate a plan for how this was all going to go down. I had all the bases covered and considered all scenarios. I met with lawyer on Monday to discuss worst case and then scheduled an emergency counseling session for today. I confronted my wife last night and she reacted exactly how I suspected: remorseful and apologetic, not angry and combative. She explained that she enjoyed the attention but assured me nothing ever happened and that she had no intention of seeing any of it through. She admitted it was wrong and totally stupid on her part. She begged for forgiveness. I spent the night away last night in an effort to allow myself to recharge, but also to allow her to reflect on what she did and how she intends on fixing it. She knows she broke our trust and she knows there's a long road to recovery. She knows what's at stake here. We have a lot of work ahead of us and it certainly won't be easy, but we're now headed in the right direction together. I know many of you are hoping for updates on swift justice or some wild kinky romp details, but at the end of the day, this was about me, my wife and our relationship, and nobody, not even the internet gasp, knows it better than us. The moral of the story is simply talk more, listen more and be more. Life is short. Be honest. Learn forgiveness. Relationships aren't easy. They require intense focus, input and tuning. Redditor's reactions. Redditor 1, lawyer up first, let his wife know: fuck whoever says it's none of her business and let your wife know. Edit, screenshot the proof and email it to yourself to an email only you have the password to. Redditor follow up, I also agree with this human. Except get all your evidence together first, lawyer up, and get the lawyer's opinion before you let anyone else know. I'm sorry this is happening, although it seems that she has not actually cheated on you yet. The fact that she was into the idea of it causes all trust to go out the window. Redditor 2, tell the other guy's wife right before you tell yours. That way neither one of them has a chance to cover their tracks. You should also let her parents know too, so she can't spin anything against you. My ex-wife begged me not to tell her family about her cheating and I was stupid enough to do that. They proceeded to try and ruin me, stole a lot of my belongings and money, and it made everything that much worse. Redditor 3, sorry man, although the actual physical cheating may not have occurred, the intent was there. In my book that is about 90% the same. Emotional cheating equals definitely. Trust shattered equals definitely. Keep in mind her counter argument could be: I would have never actually gone through with it, but just like the attention. Problem with this is you'll really never know for sure. If it were me, I would hear her out for the kid's sake and based on her vibe go from there. But truthfully, I wouldn't be able to trust her again. Redditor follow up, keep in mind her counter argument could be: I would have never actually gone through with it, but just like the attention. I mean, so what?